cover now is arrow function, and that is the last items we have to cover on that JavaScript function. So up until this point, if you want to write a function, like for example, we want to write a function that adds two numbers together, what do? We do it this way. Oops. We do function, then the function name, which is add, then the parameters a and b, and we want this to return a plus b. So this function adds two numbers together. So if you want to use this function, we can do 3, 4, and this is going to like give you 7 back, which we already know. We are looking at the code. So you might have gotten sick, like sick and tired of constantly trying to like write functions like this over and over and over again. Well, there is a solution that ES6 introduces. It introduced arrow functions. So arrow functions are just here to make us write cleaner codes and to make us like write faster code instead of just you writing function name, this, return this. We can, with an arrow function, let me do arrow function. So with arrow functions, we can convert what we have above to something like let add equals, A and B, then return A plus B. This is simple. And if you remember, I talked about Babel the other time. If we go to Babel, let's try and check. So we have Babel over here. I'm just going to. So if I do what we had there, if I do this, you see that Babel compiled this to what we used to have. You see that let add equals AB, then this arrow, then AB. And this is the same thing as saying var add equals function add AB, return AB. So if we go into our code, this is what we are actually trying to do. So if you look at this, you can see that it's pretty straightforward. It's, to me, it's one of the sweetest syntax out there, which is, we call it arrow function. Sometimes you see people calling it fat arrow function or something like that. But most of the time, the terminology to use is, we call it arrow function because they introduce this arrow. So it's the same thing as the function above, this particular function above. Just that this is just a shorthand form, so that you don't have to constantly be writing function, the function name, blah, 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 and all this. And the beauty of this is that you could have done something like this. Let's say you want to have, let's say add 2, and it receives 2 parameters, and you want to return explicitly, explicitly you want to return something back, you can write return A plus B. So I'll tell you why we have this and it is different from this. So if we copy this, let's copy the 2 functions and let's run it in our browser and let's see what we are going to get. So let me just decrease my browser. I'm going to clear this. So if I run this code, so add, I want to add 2 numbers together. Let's add 89 and 5. So if I do this, I got 94. The same thing with the second add function, add 2. If I do 3 and 90, I got 93 back. So everything works completely. So the only difference is that we have, excuse me, the only difference that we have, is that a function expression that accepts 2 parameters, we have this fat arrow, but with an arrow function, if you have a single return, just like this, if you have a single return, you can just put it on a single line without adding the return button or these curly brackets. So this assumes that you want to return whatever you have on the right of this arrow. So if you write it like this, it assumes that you want to return this. And you can also write it like this. So whatever way you write it, but just to make your code simpler and straightforward and easier to read, then you can just, if you have just one return statement, you can just return it here without the curly bracket and the return keyword. So you can just put it on a single line. So it's going to assume that you want to return this particular expression you have there. So you see that when I copied it and I ran it in the console, everything runs. It automatically, add return because everything is on one line, and it looks very, very nice. It looks a lot easier to write than what we have here. Oh boy, that is everything that we have to do today. So I know that was a lot of information, but make sure that if you don't understand something, you can rewatch these videos. So that is why I'm trying to record them, in bits, so that we can, in case you want to, like, okay, I just want to watch the structuring, how is it done? You can just go directly to the structuring. If you want to watch about functions and arrow functions, you can actually go straight to this particular video. So after this session, probably today, later today, I'll make sure I send to us the exercises that we are going to do so that we get ourselves familiar with these syntaxes. There is nothing new about this. There are just new ways of doing things. And these are going to really, really help you when you want to write better and cleaner codes. So that is all. And just to show you, what we've covered, well, you've managed to finish everything in this section outline, from variables to types to comparisons to conditionals to logical operators to functions to data structures, looping to keywords. You've covered everything, So moving forward, we are going to be using these new syntaxes that we've learned today to write our codes. So I hope you are excited as I'm, as you are trying to learn these new things and you are trying to start using them. So that is all we have for today. If we have any question